What is going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique of the Fight Guys. I'm also a Forbes contributor and also write for Heavy.com. And we are here live talking about UFC Fight Night 172 from ViStar Veteran Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. We're going over the results of this card, and in case you did not see the main event, wasn't a storybook ending at all. Most people were behind and rooting for Walt Harris because obviously his daughter was murdered in 2019. This was his first fight back. Went in against Alistair Overeem, and the result didn't go as obviously he hoped that it would go. So I'm going to get into that as well as all of the fights on this card. I want to give people a little bit of a chance to file in. Obviously, this just started. It's hard to know or say exactly. Oh, okay, we're going to start our recap up at this time specifically because you just really don't know for sure. So we're gonna give it a little bit of time for some people to kind of file in, hopefully to start watching, and then we'll go ahead and start going over the recap. Matter of fact, looks like we got one person in here now. Make sure the link goes out so people know that we are recapping the show. Let's see, it was crazy stuff going on tonight. A couple things I want to kind of go in about, not necessarily even that had to do with the results, but some stuff that I'm just gonna mention more or less. Let's see. We got UFC Fight Night 170. I gotta type out. I gotta talk out what I'm typing, guys. Uh, right now. Link is out there on Twitter. So I mean, this was a very interesting card. It was not stacked with finishes, but it was still, I think, a very interesting card altogether. As I said, the main event did not go Walt Harris's way, but we'll get into that in a second. Let's start from the top of the prelims, and it began with a heavyweight bout between Rodrigo Nascimento against Dontae Mays. This fight coming in, this was almost a push. Bet online odds didn't have it leaning one way or the other, and I should make sure I mention to you guys we are powered by Fight TV and presented by Bet Online. They didn't have one person, or they didn't have one person necessarily as a strong favorite. I went with Rodrigo Nascimento, and I went with him based on his grappling ability. I thought that he would be able to do enough from a standing, in standing exchanges to be able to initiate his grappling game and to get the victory. And as it turned out, he actually did better on his feet than I thought, which honestly, what that gives me is that gives me a lot of hope for his for the future for him, because I thought he represented himself pretty well in the stand up. And if you are in the chat right now, I will be popping in there after we go over each fight now. So if you have any questions for me, make sure you are putting those in the chat. I will definitely answer them when I get through going through each fight. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the first round, Nascimento outstruck Dontae Mays 21-16, landed a higher percentage of shots, landed a higher percentage in the second round, even though the actual number of strikes landed was the same. So that was actually, like I said, it was just a very, I thought, impressive performance from him from an overall standpoint, from an overall striking standpoint. And then once he got to the ground, I knew he'd pretty much have Dontae Mays outclassed. Dontae Mays was actually pretty tired, I thought, in that second round, and Nascimento was able to get the victory via rear naked choke. Just not a lot of fight, in Dontae Mays once he got into that precarious position. But as I said, I was really, look at the kick. I mean, if you had seen Nascimento leading up to this fight, saw him in the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, and I looked at some other fights prior, I wouldn't have even thought he had a kick like this in his arsenal, just to be honest. But he did, man. He did some stuff with striking. And this guy, even though he's shorter than Dontae Mays is 6'6". Nascimento, I think, is 6'2" or 6'3". Even though there was a height advantage, Nascimento has really long arms. And he's just like I mentioned this in my preview. He's one of those wide back, long arm guys. Don't have a ton of definition, but you know that this guy is freak strong. And it's almost like if Daniel Cormier was 6'2" or 6'3" from a body standpoint. It's just kind of that way. And I was really impressed with him. I'm excited to see what he has in the heavyweight division. I think he's now 8-0. Very impressive victory. Yeah, I think he's got an upside for sure. Let's go to the second fight of the night, which was Courtney Casey getting the victory via submission over Mara Romero Barela. This was a first round submission via armbar. On the feet, Romero Barela seemed to be a little bit faster, which I was a little bit surprised at that. And she ended up getting the takedown. And she took top position, but got a little careless. And it just, for the whole fight, I was looking at how comfortable Courtney Casey was working off of her back. And because she wasn't scrambling, trying to stand, it seemed as though she had a game plan to try to work this submission game. And she's like, I'm going to get this submission. And ultimately, Barela got a little bit, just a little bit overzealous, left her arm out there to be had, and ended up getting tapped. So it was, like I said, a very strong performance from Courtney Casey. So strong that she actually ended up getting the one of the bonuses for the performance bonuses for this fight. A first round submission via the armbar. Now, part of the reason we heard this, and I'm going to talk about something, part of the reason we heard this was because there's no fans, but it's not often that you hear somebody scream out in pain from a submission, and you heard Barela go, ow, and that, so you already knew she had tried to fight it off for about as long as possible, and then it got to the point where she had to tap, because with these submission holds, and with as skilled as these people are, you don't have a lot of time before something real bad is going to happen if you don't tap. So she did, and ultimately gave up the victory there to Courtney Casey. So now this was Courtney Casey's first fight at flyweight, which may actually be a better division for her. We'll see what happens. I was at this point for predictions, I was 2-0. So had both of these right. Had a decent night tonight, 7-4 overall with my predictions. A couple of them I might have gotten robbed, because a couple of them could have gone my direction. We'll talk about those in a second. Actually, as a matter of fact, this is the first one. Nate Landwehr got a unanimous decision victory over Darren Elkins. I'm not so sure. We don't have the third round statistics up here right now, which obviously is a little bit important. But Darren Elkins outstruck Nate Landwehr 33-25 in the first round. I thought he landed. Overall, I thought he didn't get enough credit for the jab. He was landing with the jab for the entire fight. I could totally see them giving Nate Landwehr the second round. I understand, even though the striking was really close in that round too. But in the third round, I thought Elkins did a better job with the jab. I thought he landed the more telling blows, even though I did think he got a little bit rocked at the end. But I thought this fight could have gone either way. A unanimous decision was something that I definitely thought was a little crazy, but that's what they did. Nate Landwehr is hilarious, man. This fight was bloody. Like, they didn't give out a fight of the night, and I'm not even sure. I mean, there were several fights that could have won. Maybe they couldn't make up their mind. I don't know. But there were several fights that could have won. This was definitely one of them. You already know whenever Darren Elkins fights, there's going to be a lot of blood. You already know there's going to be a lot of blood. But not all of it was his. Most of it was, but not all of it was his. These guys were banging. Nate Landwehr does not move his head. He don't move nothing. He doesn't move anything but his mouth. Because he's yelling and talking. He's calling out Dana White's name. Dana, did you see that? Woo, Dana. The whole fight. And I'm like, through the second round, I'm like, dude, whatever. This particular image was like, whoa. You catch somebody looks like smacking blood out of the nose. This is like if somebody does clip art for mixed martial arts, they like take this picture and turn it into a silhouette. That's kind of what they do. This is kind of crazy. But Nate Landwehr got the decision. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the worst thing ever, but it definitely wasn't. I don't know. It could have gone either way. Let's put it that way. Could have gone either way. So this was my first loss of the night from a prediction standpoint, but it is what it is. Let's move to our next fight. Giga Chikadze. I was really impressed with his striking in this fight. Really impressed. He ended up getting unanimous decision victory here over Erwin Rivera. Erwin Rivera, I was really impressed with him as well. He showed so much athleticism in this fight. He was trying to make up a serious size difference, so much to the point where I wonder if the lower weight class is not better for him. But he was trying to make up a size difference, and he was fighting a guy who was so skilled on the feet. Chikatsi's got some real skill standing. I mean, he's got a varied attack, all kinds of stuff that he can do. He reminds me of like a slightly more aggressive Gegard Mousasi on the feet. That's kind of it. Kind of reminds me of that, the way he moves. But I shouldn't say more aggressive, slightly snappier, more athletic version of Gegard Mousasi, just from a standing standpoint. Because Mousasi has a whole other style game on the ground. That's what makes him such a good fighter, is because he can strike and grapple. But purely from a stand-up, perspective, I think there are some similarities between Chikadze and Mousasi. So it's pretty interesting. But I thought Chikadze just picked Erwin Rivera apart. Rivera gave a really good effort, but it was a pretty easy decision. I had pretty much almost everybody had Chikadze winning this fight. He had Rivera coming in on such short notice. He did have a different style than the guy that Chikadze prepared for, but Chikadze got it done. This was one of the first. This is the first fight that I got wrong, and I couldn't say anything about it really. You had to say it was what it was. Kevin Holland surprised me. Actually, he didn't surprise me. I know how talented Kevin Holland is. I know that he's long and athletic for the weight class, so I know he's capable. But sometimes it seems like he loses his attention or whatever, and gets into certain situations in the ring and the octagon to get him into trouble. But he didn't have time to get in any trouble in this one. 39 seconds. He landed an elbow over the top, right to the temple of Anthony Hernandez, and then followed that up with a left knee to the liver, doubled Hernandez over. And at that point, it was just some ground and pound as Hernandez just kind of covered up, and the referee stepped in and called an end to the fight. Kevin Holland, I'm telling you guys, he really does have some talent at 185. The funny thing about it, or the interesting thing about it, is after the fight, he called out Mickey Gall at welterweight. So I'm thinking to myself, if Kevin Holland can actually make welterweight and make it, consistently and healthy, that might actually be the better weight class for him, because he's going to have a height advantage over most guys, a length advantage over most guys. He's going to have to get a little bit better at protecting his neck when things get to the ground. That didn't happen today because he got a hold and stopped his opponent so early. I also thought he gave a really pretty entertaining post-fight interview. He doesn't always give entertaining post-fight interviews. Sometimes he kind of gets into a place where you're like, but today I thought he was really entertaining, really witty, just funny, and I enjoyed his post-fight interview. And I'm willing and interested to see him fight Mickey Gall. He's got to watch the submissions. That could be a tough fight for him. He'll clearly outstrike Mickey Gall, but if that fight goes to the ground, it will be a problem because Mickey Gall's good down there. So we'll see what happens. So it's an interesting fight. I think Kevin Holland needs to string together 3 or 4 wins, and then maybe he gets a ranked guy, and we'll see what happens from there. But he definitely does have some talent, so we'll see where he goes with that. The next fight was Miguel Baeza, and this was now we're talking about a fight that could have won fight of the night. This one could have won fight of the night as well. Matt Brown is just so tough, so tough. Early in the first round, Baeza was picking him apart with leg kicks and some counter strikes, and then Brown just steps in and lands a hard right hand against Baeza and hurts him, kind of dazes him. And for a moment, it looked like Baeza was going to get stopped. I'm like, man, this is going to be a huge upset, because Baeza comes into this fight undefeated, looking like one of the top prospects in the promotion, or definitely at the weight class. And I'm like, whoa, this is looking a little tough. But to his credit, he really started to rebound, landed some hard counter shots at the end of the first round to regain control. And then in the second round, he really just kind of showed that he was just the better athlete, the better fighter. Landed a nasty left hook that dropped Matt Brown, and he finished him out with some ground and pound from there. I'm going to tell you right now, Baeza has some serious star potential. Not only does he have the game and because he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on top of these striking skills that we saw today. But, he's a likable dude, gets up there, his interviews, he's not like an over-the-top guy necessarily, but he seems to speak honestly And so that's pretty cool and a little bit endearing. You know, he's got a look. He could get they'll market him. Obviously, I think he's got some star potential. And the biggest thing is he can fight. He can fight. And I'm telling you, this guy, you got to really watch him. If he gets another fight at the end of this year, maybe by his next fight, he gets a ranked opponent. If they're not moving him too fast, he's 9-0 right now. 7 of his victories are by stoppage. I'm telling you, Miguel Baeza. I got to see what he does in his next fight. Got woken up by that elbow or by that punch from Matt Brown, but I liked what I saw from him today. I liked his ability to come back because I thought he was going to fold. I'll be honest. I thought he'd get hit and cracked one good time, and I thought he's like, okay, thought he's going to kind of accept defeat, and he didn't do that. Came back strong and got the victory. So strong performance. Now, here's where I feel like I might have gotten a little bit robbed. And I think some other people are saying this too. If you looked on Twitter right after this fight, there were a lot of people calling this trash. Biggest problem here, let's see. Song Yadong gets a victory, unanimous decision. Actually, I think this might have been a split decision. I got to double check. I think this one might have been a split decision. Let's double check and see. Yeah, no, it was a unanimous decision, 29 to 20, 28 across the board. It felt like it should have been a split decision, but I don't know. I guess it wasn't. But in any case, this fight, I somewhat fault Marlon Vera, right? I picked him to win this fight. He was the underdog, but here's why I felt he had a chance, and I explained this in my singular video. I didn't think that Song Yadong would be able to find his chin with that big right hand because he's really kind of showing himself to be a little bit of a one-dimensional type of striker. Everything is set up for that to land. And I know how smart of a fighter Vera was. I know how long he was. I knew he had the length advantage in arms and everything. And I know how tough he is. He never been stopped with strikes. He's just a tough guy. And I thought he'd be able to get in there, get inside, get sneaky, and land some hard stuff himself. And he did do that. But my fault with Vera is that I don't believe he was nearly as busy as he needed to be. He needed to be busy in this fight, and he wasn't. He had a length advantage, and I was saying this to my wife as I was watching the fight. He's getting in the range, and he's walking Song Yadong down. And he's at a point where he literally can touch Yadong, and Yadong can't touch him because of the length advantage, and he's not throwing. So if you're closing distance, walking a guy down, but you're not doing anything with it, then that's a problem. And I felt that he did that for about 1.5 rounds. The problem is it's only a 3-round fight. So while he had a much better second round than he had in the first round, he left it there for judges to perceive it as a song round. And unfortunately for him, that's exactly what happened. I think all 3 judges gave him the third round, which he clearly won, finished in top position, looked like he could have pounded Song out. Song was tired in the third round because when a guy is constantly walking you down, it kind of starts to drain your energy. And I knew that was probably what Cheeto was going to do. That's what he did. But I really felt like he should have been more active in that fight, and he just wasn't. And so I thought he left himself open to get robbed. You know what it was similar to, but not exactly? And this is a boxing reference. Oscar De La Hoya against Felix Trinidad. I thought that De La Hoya clearly outboxed Trinidad through that fight. But I felt like he built up a lead. But later in the fight, he kind of just sat on his lead and kind of danced around. And he left some of those closer rounds open for interpretation. And he didn't get the nod on a few of those rounds. And I think that Vera did that with the second round. He just left it out there. And I felt like if he had pushed a little bit more, he could have definitively claimed that round. That said, there's a lot of evidence out there to say, and a lot of people saying that Vera won that round, won that fight, and he just didn't get it. Now, I will say this. I was not a fan of the way Vera acted after the loss. I know you've won 5 fights in a row, and I know you're a heck of a fighter, and I know you're prideful and all that, and how hard you worked to get prepared for the fight. But Song Yadong went to shake it. Now, unless there was some sort of back and forth between these guys that we don't know about, I don't know. So barring something nasty said that we didn't get a chance to hear, like Song Yadong goes to shake his hand at the end of the fight, and he walks past him and throws his hand up. Like, bro, Song Yadong didn't do the scorecards. The judges did the scorecards. Why are you acting that way towards him? Like, and I mean, I see these guys and girls go out here and they fight and they scrap and they put it all on the line, man. And they go out here and they fight like nobody's business. And then as soon as the fight's over, it's dap, it's whatever. I mean, literally, Walt Harris. We're gonna get in this in a second, but Walt Harris's daughter was murdered in 2019. He just got stopped by Alistair Overeem, but somehow he finds a way to have some level of sportsmanship. But Chito Vera can't, and he's gonna take it out on Song Yadong, who didn't even do the scorecards. I didn't think that was pretty cool, but I mean, he does have an argument that maybe he did win the fight, but I didn't like that so much. So it is what it is. Let's move on to the next fight. Eric, your boy, Anders against Krzysztof Jotko. This fight went pretty much exactly as I thought it would. Eric Anders is a fantastic athlete. He's strong, but as a striker, he's really labored and lumbering, and most of the time you see all of those strikes coming. And a really skilled stand-up guy like Krzysztof Jotko is going to more than likely pick that stuff off, and he's not going to get hit by those big shots. I'm going to tell you right now, and this might sound harsh, but in my opinion, Eric Anders has already hit his ceiling of what he is in the UFC, which is really significant for him to have gotten to this point. He started off as a football player, was a high-level football player. If you play for the University of Alabama and you go to the national championship, to me, that means you this close away from the NFL. So we already know what kind of athlete, what kind of athlete this guy is. But as a fighter, he's extremely one-dimensional, and it's walking guys down with this lumbering kind of lunging forward and the really tight strikers, and Jotko is a good striker. They're gonna pick that apart, and I think that's what we saw. So it was a pretty much a one-sided thing. Anders was chasing the takedown like crazy, couldn't get it. Jotko had showed really good takedown defense. I think just outclassed him overall as a complete mixed martial artist. And that fight went exactly as I expected it would go. So not even a lot of time to spend on that. Unanimous decision, pretty easy win for Jotko. Next fight was Dan Ige against Edson Barboza. Now, this is crazy, right? Because I called this upset. I called it. I said that Ige would win by unanimous decision. But it did not happen the way that I expected it to happen. And what Ige did put him in danger of losing this fight. I felt like he could have probably won it easier. But I will say this. I almost feel like I got paid back a little bit, right? Because while the Marlon Chito Vera fight didn't go in my favor, and if I had that one right, I mean, if the decision had gone the way I felt it should have gone and how some other people felt it should have gone, then I would have gotten that one right. So it would have been one this one here I got right, but I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I'm not sure. Right? So obviously, 2 of the 3 judges gave the fight to Dan Ige, gave the second round to Dan Ige, and they definitely gave him the third round where he pretty much dominated, finished in top position. I'm not so sure I agree that Dan Ige won the second round. He got hurt in the second round with a left hook to the body. He was doing well, but he got stunned. So it just depends on how you judge the round, right? The first half of it I thought was all him, and then I thought Barboza had some moments in the second round. My point for Dan Ige was, to me, Dan wanted to come out and show that he could strike with Barboza, which I felt was a bad game plan. He got dropped in the first round, nearly got stopped, got hurt twice in the second round with body shots. I just didn't think it was the path of least resistance. For me, the path of least resistance for Ige was to press forward looking to get the takedown. Barboza gets overwhelmed and drained with guys who pressure and go for that and work that takedown. It's just his slender frame. He just doesn't deal with the mauling guys well. And that's what I thought Ige should have done. He did it in the third round. That was easily his biggest and best round. And I know he had to drain him a little bit, but I felt that he could have drained him in a way that didn't put him in such harm's way with the strikes. And that's why he ended up getting hurt in the first round, because he wanted to strike. He got clubbed right in the temple. The reading of the decision here was like, you want to talk about the epitome of the agony of defeat, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Look at this image. This is just when Barboza hears that the split decision went Ige's way. Woo, that was tough because, and you got to understand, beyond I just lost the fight. Obviously, nobody wants to lose. But the real kind of story, you got to see the whole thing, right? Barboza's came into this fight having lost 2 fights in a row. Throughout his entire career, he'd never been on a 3-fight losing streak, right? So he's faced with that from the beginning. He also switched weight classes to come down. It takes work, a lot of work for guys to drop a weight division. There's dedication. There's all kinds of things that play into that. Edson Barboza's really good friend is Jose Aldo. He dropped to bantamweight. He didn't win the fight, but most people consider his drop a success because of how good he looked against Marlon Moraes. So he's doing this, and he's setting himself up for this. There's a lot riding on this fight for him as a veteran who still probably has some championship aspirations. He's never been there. To do that and to lose such a close and disputed decision, that explains the look on his face right there. It's heavy. That's a heavy loss to have taken. Dan Ige got away with some stuff today. I'm not saying that Barboza got robbed because it was a close fight. But this decision could have easily gone to Barboza and it wouldn't have been a stretch. And also, Dan Ige could have got stopped when he got hurt in the first round, and he could have got stopped when he got hurt in the second round too. So this was a tough one for him, but Ige gets the victory. I got the correct prediction. I'm not gonna argue with it. Let's go to the co-main event, and we saw Claudia Gadelha get the split decision victory over Angela Overkill Hill. This was now here's another fight. They could have won the fight of the night. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe they're gonna give it out later. But I think I saw the UFC's official tweet, and nobody got fight of the night according to what I saw. So I mean, I'm gonna do a quick look again to see if they updated something. But it seems to me like somebody should have, somebody should have got the fight of the night. There were several deserving fights, and I don't know what happened, but nobody got it. This one definitely could have got fight of the night. These girls were scrapping. They were banging the whole fight. And the first round, Claudia got the victory. She got the takedown against Angela Hill. Worked great from the top position. Okay, they did give a fight of the night. It ended up being Song Yadong versus Rivera. Okay, it was a good fight, but I don't think that would have been my choice for fight of the night. I don't. I think it would have been Claudia against Angela Hill. I really do. But they got fight of the night. I'm not. Hey, what can you say? You're not gonna. I mean, it's not like their fight sucked, right? So, I don't know, but I think I would have gone with Angela and Claudia Gadelha. At any rate. First round, Gadelha gets the takedown. She pretty much controls the fight. I said this in my preview. If Gadelha gets the takedown, which I expected her to do, Angela would be in trouble. I'm sure Angela was working takedown defense and just trying to get being able to stand back up if she got taken down. That happened. She didn't handle the round well. Second round, she comes out. I think Claudia got caught standing a little bit too much. She got clipped good. Knocked down, face planted, did a spin on the way down. Looked like she might get stopped suddenly. But she was able to get herself back up. She actually landed some decent shots in the second round, but not enough to shift the round back into her favor. In the third round, super close. Both girls did a great job. They're firing shots back and forth. I did believe, in my opinion, Gadelha landed the harder shots. And I thought that when she landed the shots, they appeared to do more damage. Not as if Angela Hill was hurt necessarily, but just hitting somebody and seeing a physical reaction and somebody moving back and that sort of thing. I thought that because of that, Gadelha looked to do a little bit better work in the third round. But I was a little bit surprised that she didn't seem to go for any takedowns in the third round at all. She didn't look for it at all. And I'm telling you, it really sometimes shocks me how sometimes the fighters just seems like they don't even attempt to go to some of their strengths sometimes. This isn't happening all the time. Most of the time people do fight to their strengths, but there are times in fights where you're like, go here, go here, go here. And I mean, obviously getting a takedown is not easy, especially against somebody who knows you want to take them down and somebody's been training takedown defense for however many weeks they've been training for this fight. But to me, you have to threaten it at least to there were times where Gadelha would get in close and she would literally shove her, and it appeared to me that she was shoving her to get her to the cage so she could close the distance and then begin a grappling sequence there. But she would push her and literally stand there and watch. And I'm like, so I don't know if it was an energy or stamina issue, but I thought that Claudia should have pursued the takedown and the grappling sequences a little bit more. Went for some trips inside of some of those clinches, but she didn't do it. Ultimately, she got the nod from 2 of the 3 judges based off of her striking in the third round and her winning the first round pretty cleanly, and she got the victory. So it was a really tough loss for Angela. She is, I believe, on a 4-fight winning streak. This was her 7th fight in 14 months. Been super active. She was swearing at the screen when when the decision was made. Then shortly after the fight, she went on Twitter and said, "I'm celebrating my win at the bar." So she's totally not buying the fact that she didn't officially get the decision. She's going about this as if it was a victory, which we know that that's not really how that goes. But whatever you need to make yourself feel better today, I'm all for it because every once in a while we all have to do it. All right, let's move into this main event. Tough one. It was a tough one for Walt Harris for sure. This one's tough for just about every reason. Obviously, we know about the personal tragedy that he had to deal with, losing his daughter last year. Just horrible situation, and because of that, as I mentioned to open this recap, a lot of people were in his corner, and a lot of people were backing him and wanting him to win. And nothing against Alistair Overeem. I think for the most part, fans like Alistair Overeem. He's been fighting forever. Just goes about his business, and he's a tough, nasty guy, right? But I think a lot of people wanted Harris to win this fight. I picked him to win, thought he would get the victory, but I also said in my preview that if this fight went to the ground, he'd be in trouble. And that's exactly what happened. He nearly stopped Overeem in the first round, hit him with I believe it was a left-right combo, and it dropped Overeem, and he kind of surged in, and he was trying to get the stoppage. Some people were saying that they felt that Dan Miragliotta could have stopped the fight. I didn't think it was there. And you guys know me. If I feel like a guy or girl is getting really smashed, I'm usually one who errs on on the side of caution. But this was not stoppage type of stuff, right? He was hurt and he got dazed, but he was always actively defending himself. Either he was trying to grab hands to stop the punches, he was throwing up kicks, he was trying to stand up, he was trying to move, he was covering. It was constant motion. Never did he shell up for a prolonged time to take shots, and he wasn't taking a ton of clean shots at all. Like to compare this to UFC 249 when Dominic Cruz was taking 12 unanswered punches to the face, and the only thing he was doing was prone like this with his hands on the mat. That's totally different. He was getting hit in the face 12 consecutive times without firing anything back. Overeem wasn't getting hit like that. Harris was trying to land shots. Some of them were landing. Most of them that he landed was to the stomach. Didn't hit him in the face 12 times in a row. So Overeem was able to get to his feet, and unfortunately for Harris, he slipped. They called it a takedown. I really don't think it was. I think Harris slipped, literally. And when he slipped, Overeem got on top because Harris turned his back. He was on his knees. Overeem got on top, tried to sink the hooks in, and just started hitting the shots from the side. And by this time, after this is going on for, say, 25 to 30 seconds, you get a look at Walt Harris's face while he's on the mat, and he is breathing super heavy. And to be totally honest with you, he looked panicked, looked straight panicked. And I mentioned to my wife, I said, yeah, that ain't looking good, because when a guy at heavyweight especially, and when you also consider that Walt Harris came in at 264 and a half, almost 265 pounds, usually doesn't fight that heavy. I noticed a little gut hanging over the belt too that isn't usually there for him. Walt is a big, wide, solid guy, but the stomach doesn't usually hang like that. So he was sucking wind in a major way. And taking shots to the face and obviously not enjoying them. So in the second round, I knew he'd kind of be in some trouble. He didn't come out looking quite as bad as I thought he would. He was standing there, didn't look, the posture didn't look too bad, but where he really suffered was in the striking defense. Just wasn't slick. So this head kick landed at about 3:28 of the second round. This dropped him. He went to his knees again, and he just shelled up, and I knew it was going to be bad because Overeem then took the back, sunk the hip, the hooks in, and he wasn't high at all. You see how low he's sitting. He's right around, Walt's waist at this point. And then he just anchors down with the butt and forces Walt to flatten out. Once he forced him to flatten out, it's about, I wish I had the statistics for this, but the percentage of time that you're going to see anybody escape once they're in this position and they've been flattened out is almost 0 to none. And at heavyweight, I would bet the percentage is even lower because the weight, the amount of energy that it takes and sucks out of somebody when they've been flattened out completely, especially at a heavyweight, is just tough. So I knew this was not going to go well, and Overeem just pounded on him until damn near Gadelha had no other choice but to stop the fight. Harris just couldn't get up. He couldn't escape the position. And I give a lot of credit to Overeem, though. I mean, obviously, what else would he do? He'd have to be a complete jerk not to react the way that he did. He went over to Walt Harris and, he just, kind of consoled him and told him he respected him for fighting. And that, and the other thing that I could hear him say is he said, hey, can we train together? And this is something that I've been noticing that Overeem has done literally after every fight. I want to say maybe his last 4 or 5 fights. Some of them he hasn't been able to do because he got knocked out so viciously it was just not possible, at least not immediately in the octagon. But he's asked to train with the guys that he's fought, win or lose. And so here he just stopped Walt, and he literally asked him, can we train together? So I thought that was really interesting, and I really think that what it is the epitome of martial arts. While everybody wants to win and everybody's trying to get the victory, this is just a different type of these are different types of individuals. I think I said this last week. They just wired differently, man. What sport do you see somebody beat a guy or beat a girl and then say, hey, can we practice together afterwards? It's just they just built different, and most people probably just are not going to understand. So it was crazy, but I'm going to slide over here and I'm going to take a look at what you guys have been saying and about his Jorge Trujillo says that he's still mad with, and I hope I said your name right. Said he's still mad with the decision over Chito Vera. I understand, man. I kind of felt like I nailed that one and didn't get the decision, but it is what it is, right? Sean Singletary, what's going on? S squared. He said heart goes out to Walt Harris, but stepping into the cage is a huge victory for him. Just can't help from wonder if it was too soon. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. Honestly, man, I don't think I'm gonna say something, and this is me purely just analyzing the fight, right? The fighters. Nothing to do with Walt as a man or anything like that. But Walt Harris has a hole in his game. And this is the same hole that was in his game even before the tragedy, unfortunately. He's not good on the ground at all. Every time I've ever seen him fight, for the most part, and the fight has gone to the ground, he's looked lost. And that's just what it is, man. And he's 36 years old, so I don't know that he has time to fill in those gaps. Now, he is a fantastic athlete, one of the best athletes in the heavyweight division. He's long, he's powerful, is all get out, can hurt and stop anybody because of his skill on the feet. But the way to beat Walt Harris is to take him down. That is it. And when you take him down, you're probably going to beat him. I saw him fight Fabricio Verdum, and obviously Verdum is one of the best grapplers in the heavyweight division. But this is what we saw was the formula, and Overeem pretty much did the same thing. This is what I said in my preview. I did pick Walt Harris, but I said the reason why I was picking Walt Harris is because I did not expect for Overeem to take him down. I thought he would stand and strike. And he, I don't know that he would have taken him down if Walt Harris hadn't slipped. I don't know. maybe he would have. His corner seemed to want him to do that. I'm not sure, but I know that that was the path to victory for him. And me picking Walt Harris was more about me expecting Overeem to fight Harris's fight. And when it turned into a ground thing, I knew that I knew it wasn't gonna go well for Walt. So Scott, I don't want to mess up your name. Satout says that Barboza fight was ruined my whole night. It was BS rigged, I swear. Yeah, I don't know if I mean, I've seen worse decisions. I did think that Barboza was gonna win. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Barboza was gonna win. So I don't know. I won't say rigged. Rigged is a tough one, but definitely thought that it was going to. I mean, honestly, the Vera decision and the Barboza decision, I don't know which one was weirder. I don't. So we'll see. Sapphira Fawn says, I thought Cheeto won, Ige should have lost, and Heel should have won. So you thought, okay, so you see three bad decisions, okay? And I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't say you're wrong because all three of those fights were super close, and all three of those fights could have gone either way. And if what you're saying had actually happened, nobody could have said it was horrible. Just like I'm saying, and like you said in your next comment, you said, but to be fair, those three matches could have gone either way depending on what the judges are watching. Exactly. It's see the word robbery. I think kind of. And I think this is what Blazing Fury has here. He says all the decisions were too close to have a robbery. Exactly. And that's kind of what I think the word robbery or rig kind of gets thrown around a little bit too much sometimes when with these close fights. If a fight's close, you really can't say it was a robbery, right? I've seen some flat robberies, but if a fight's close, it's not really a right because it's close. So I think Sapphira kind of got that in the last comment, but yeah, I don't think those are robberies. Blazing Fury also says Ige, Barboza, Song, Vera were extremely close fights. Yes, for sure. Scott says Barboza fight was straight robbery. He say he don't care. That fight was a robbery. I ain't trying to hear nothing else. That's it. It's a robbery. Forget about everything else. Blazing Fury says, I scored for Barboza, but Ige had a lot of success on him in round 2 and round 3. That's how I feel too, Blazing Fury. I thought that Ige did well in the second and third round. I did score for Barboza, but yeah, he did have some moments for sure. So Scott says Barboza went first and second. He's also, but I thought he won. Survivor says, kudos to Ige, though that guy came to bang. He did come to bang. I did not like his game plan, but he came to bang for sure. Said got clipped a few times, but he still kept pushing forward. I think that's probably why the judges scored in his favor because of his strong pursuit of Barboza. I think you're right. I think that what I learned from this certain sets of judges here in Florida is that they really rewarded forward progress a lot, which kind of flies in the face of Vera though, because Vera came forward almost pretty much that whole fight, and he didn't get the decision. But for the most part, a lot of those fights were guys, the people who got the decision was the person coming forward. And I think you're right. You do have to kind of know what what judges are looking for. You don't necessarily know. Blazing Fury said I thought Barboza would decapitate Ige. Like I said, in my picks, I picked Ige to win. I picked him to win by a unanimous decision. I felt that he would go for grappling more, but he didn't. Into the third round, and that was his easiest round. And he could have made. I felt like he could have made the fight a lot easier, just period, if he had gone to and pursued grappling a little bit more. I felt honestly, I felt that the Ige Barboza and Heel Gadelha were very similar fights because I felt that while Ige and Gadelha had moments on the feet, I felt like, they were both inferior strikers to the person that they were fighting. And I felt like their best approach would be to push the grappling game. And both of them had their best success in the rounds that they did push the grappling. And I feel like if they had pushed it more, they would have won easier decisions than they won. They both ended up winning, but I think that both of those decisions would have been easier for them had they done that. Blazing Fury says, Nam Fam Leonard Garcia 2 was a robbery. Yeah. Now that was a robbery. That's a robbery. Junior Smile said, I bet a lot on Edson too. More cash was on Ige, so probably not rigged. Right? Yeah. And Sapphira says, how much did you? Okay, that was 2-1. You say he thought it was 2-1 Edson. I'm hearing that a lot. I'm hearing that a lot. Sapphire says, I felt bad for Barboza. He's one of my favorite fighters, but he just never seemed to string a lot together to make it all work for him and to win it all. He always fell short when it mattered the most. I really, I I agree. I agree. It's like I always, the fight I always wanted to see. I always wanted to see Barboza Conor McGregor because the thing about Barboza is that Barboza, if you're not going to take Barboza down, for the most part, you're going to get him at his best. And I thought as a pure striker against Conor, with Conor being so heavy on the front leg and with Barboza's nasty leg kicks and his speed, I just felt that would be an interesting fight. I mean, I know Conor would have probably been the favorite because he has such nasty power, but I felt like that would have been just a fantastic fight to have. We'll probably never see that. Why would Conor fight? Why would Conor take such a big risk against a guy who doesn't have anything that he wants at this point? Conor's at that point where he can kind of be that way, and he already is. But just stylistically, I always thought that was a fantastic fight. I was thinking about making a video list, and you guys, if you have not subscribed yet to the channel, please do. If you haven't liked this video yet, please do. I see we got a lot of people in here. We only got 2 likes on the video. Can I get a like, y'all, please? It would be really cool if you did. But I'm thinking about doing a video, like a listicle of like um, the top 10 fighters in UFC history to have never won a championship. And in my opinion, Barbosa's got to be on that list. I mean, but it's funny actually. We had 2 fighters on this card that have to be on that list. Alistair Overeem, Edson Barboza. Obviously, you got Donald Cerrone. Those guys have to be some of the best fighters that have never win a championship. I don't know. In the chat, you guys tell me if somebody comes on the top of your head, never won a UFC championship. Now, I don't mean pride, or not saying pride because pride's awesome, but never won a championship and have had a decent career in terms of length, and they've never won a championship. Barbosa's right there at the top of the list for me. Alistair Overeem, Donald Cerrone, I guess Nate Diaz for sure. Um, man, I gotta look and dig and see. But Uriah Faber hasn't had a UFC title, so he'd be there. Um, Probably Joseph Benavidez. It's, and like I said, it was weird that this particular card had 2 of those guys on the list, so that's interesting. So the judges gave the W to all the fighters that have a brighter future today. Seems like, hmm. You think so? You think that Claudia Gadelha has a brighter future than Angela Hill? I don't know. I don't know about that one. Definitely Dan Ige has a brighter future than Barboza because he's younger. So I definitely see what you mean there. Um, he said he lost 1,500. I'm still right. Ooh, bro, that ain't good, bro. I'm sorry to hear that. You might need to push back from the table on those, man. Man, $1,500 that's a don't do that, bro. I Yeah, man. I don't like that. I don't like that. You mean right? Yeah. What Hill lost to the okay? You think? Oh, so you didn't okay? So you don't, Junior. You don't think that fight was close? Because a lot of people feel like that fight was close. A lot of people are saying that they felt that Hill won. Hill thinks she won. So I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see here, Junior. Ek says he thinks that Hill got robbed. So there's a lot of people who feel that way. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one, Sapphira. That's a tough one for sure. But yeah, Hill did look strong. Gadelha did definitely. She was wearing the damage much worse. I mean, you can't ever really judge a fight like that. You know, you can't use the look at the other guy kind of a barometer to judge a fight. It doesn't go that way. But if you were to look at both of their faces after the fight and say who won, who you pick, tell me which one is the winner and the loser, you'd have definitely thought that Hill was the winner and Gadelha was the loser. But it doesn't really go that way because the round that Gadelha definitively won was the first round, and she won it on the strength of a takedown, which I think nobody's arguing that Gadelha won the first round, but there wouldn't have been any damage done to the face in that particular one. So, yeah, I really like Angela Hill myself. She's one of my favorite fighters, but yeah, I I didn't think it was I didn't think it was a bad I didn't think it was a bad decision overall. So but I appreciate you guys stepping in and watching. I want you guys make sure if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do so. We get a couple weeks off before the next one. UFC 250 is on June 6th. I am going to be starting my breakdowns of the fights as they're added, and I'm gonna be putting up my predictions for them. They'll be going up the week of the fights. I kind of like to put my predictions up the week of the fight. I want to give as much time to myself for different developments to happen. Oh yeah, from Hawaii. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I always want to give myself as much time as possible. But I'm gonna go ahead and look deeper into these fights and try to come out and do well again in terms of the predictions. We were 7-4 today. So over this whole week of UFC events for predictions, what was I? 7-4, 7-4. That's 14-8, 14-8, and 5-5 is 19. I was 19-13 over 3 events. Not that bad. Now, I called out a few, a good amount of upsets as well too. So we'll see. But as usual, I appreciate everybody watching. God bless and peace.